What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Just want to say welcome to another episode of This Brother Talks. Just want to say anybody who gets on, appreciate you checking it out, interacting, and just really tuning in and checking out my opinion on sports and the things that's going on in the sports world. Um, we got a host of things we're going to discuss today, from the NFL draft to NBA basketball, Kevin Durant, the Brooklyn Nets, Washington Wizards, and a couple other things. So we're gonna get right into it, and we're going to start off discussing the NFL draft. Um, NFL draft is coming up this Thursday. In my personal opinion, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time with this. NFL draft is a waste of time to me because you got 4 or 5 days of drafting players that, they done been through all this rigorous um, training and, observation from teams or whatever. And they didn't have their pro days and all that good stuff. And then, most of them, they're really hyped and then they don't pan out to be what they're supposed to be. Most of the time, I think you can get the draft over with in 2 days with the NFL. They just take too long to do all of this stuff. Get it in, get it out, and call it a day. Dragging it out from Thursday to Sunday is a total waste of time to me. I think that, it's a lot of teams focusing on quarterbacks. I don't like that idea simply because now, you get these quarterbacks and it's very rare you get one that lasts, 10, 15 years anymore. You get guys that, they span is anywhere between 7 to 10 years. And we focus so much on them. And then, sometimes, a lot of them go just off hype and off name. I think they should start going after more skilled players that makes these quarterbacks better. TC, I agree with you. Yeah, the draft is too long. It's way too long. And so, with that being said, I seen a situation about Justin Fields. He's one of the best quarterbacks, in my opinion, in the draft and how he's fallen, in the draft. And I had already said a couple of weeks ago that they would find a way to get his draft stock to drop simply because and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I think he's better than a lot of these other players. Everybody knows that Trevor Lawrence is going first because that's what they decided. That's who I think Jacksonville wants. But after that, I don't see too many other quarterbacks that's better than him. And I'm not even going to say Trevor Lawrence will be better than him. It's a lot of hype behind Trevor Lawrence. But like I said, I think teams should go after more skilled players, receivers, tight ends, some decent running backs, and make sure you get you some good DBs and linebackers and all that good stuff. Because and then offensively, I think it's a lot of teams that overlook offensive lines, and if you get these quarterbacks and you don't have a good line for, it's a total waste of time of drafting these quarterbacks. And I think quarterbacks are too highly sought out for now because it's always a big hype every year about what quarterback is going to be next, And I think Justin Fields fits the mold more than any of these other quarterbacks because now the NFL has been more of, two-dimensional quarterbacks where they can pass and they can be mobile. And some of these other quarterbacks are not as mobile as Justin Fields. So, we'll see. And like I said, I'm definitely not going to spend a lot of time with this because this NFL draft could, last 4 or 5 days. And, some of the players that they pick first, they got all these mock drafts. And me personally, I think they pay all these guys to do all this stuff. And then the draft doesn't go like the mock drafts says. You might have 1 or 2 right. And then all of a sudden it's a big surprise. But, I think it's way too long, and I never watch it. I'm a football fan, but I would not watch the NFL draft because it takes entirely too long and it's just too tedious. So like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm going to move right along because it's not something that, that really excites me. And I don't see how it excites a lot of other people, and everybody get worked up about it because, I mean, you got like 100 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm exaggerating when I say that, but it's a lot of rounds in football. But we're going to move along. We're going to talk about something that happened last night. KD had his return last night. And it was great to see him back, from injury or whatever. He come off the bench. Him and the Brooklyn Nets look good again. They're without James Harden still, but it's just watching them. Yeah, they have their defensive flaws where they have trouble guarding, but I don't think that anybody can defend them for 4 games and hold them, just keep them from scoring. It's just, I think is that's going to be a hard job to do if they're at full force. If KD's completely healthy, Kyrie completely healthy, and James completely healthy, and then all the role players. If they're at full force, this team is going to be hard to beat. Last night, KD come off the bench in 28 minutes, had 33 points. He was 12 for 21 from the field. This guy can score 30 with 20 shots, and I done seen him score 30 with 15 shots. So it's ridiculous. He's been out, but he still come in. It's like, riding a bike with him. I can sit out for some games, but I'll come back and I'll be KD all over again. They beat the Suns. Like I said, at full strength, I don't think it's just going to be hard for them to be beat. They're first in the East right now. They're a game and a half, a game ahead of the 76ers. Respectively, and it's crazy to say respectively, but Kyrie had 34, Blake Griffin had 15. And I really think it's when James come back, Blake Griffin numbers probably will go down. KD shots will go down about 3 or 4, but I think still he'll still average pretty close to 30. They just look good to me, and then all the role players, the Joe Harrises and the Jeff Greens and all those guys that just, come in and they play their role and they do what they're supposed to do and just make this team better. I can't harp on it enough. I do believe that this team is going to be very, very hard to beat. Have I gave them the nod and say, oh, you're coming out of the East, you're going to win the finals? No, I have not. Because you do have other tough teams like the 76ers, and then you also have the Milwaukee Bucks. And, respectively, I would say the Boston Celtics. But, I mean, I don't think Boston will do it, make any noise or, do any damage to these guys simply because of the guy that's driving the ship and their coach. But KD looked real good last night. He was real efficient, and to come off the bench and 28 minutes and give you 33 points. Just imagine what he's going to do whenever he started and he playing 38 to 40 minutes. How tough that's going to be to have to guard this guy. Like it's going to be insane. And then you have James, which he had a setback with his hamstring. But I think that's all going to play out because, all they want to do is get to the playoffs. A lot of people are asking questions about this team saying, will they be able to, put it all together, with no time play. But in this NBA, it's TC, I agree. But in this NBA, it's easier to gel with players because there's a lot of high pick and rolls and, stuff like that, penetrating pitch. It's not like somebody's really running a big offensive set that's going to, change the way they play. Everybody plays the same, in my personal opinion, pick and rolls, high pick and rolls, all of that good stuff, penetrating pitch. So I think that James coming back and him being the unselfish guy that he's been a facilitator, I don't think it'll be an issue. I think shots will come easier for KD. Shots will come easier for Kyrie. I think that, Joe Harris will be a big factor because I think he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. Jeff Green just being versatile the way he is, he can defend, just about every position. He's athletic. He does what he's supposed to do. He's not complaining about a bunch of shots. He's just like the true veteran player that you need on your team. And just to put those, I'm just naming those two because they have a lot of other role players that will help gel and help everything together. Like, the DeAndre Jordan, the reason why he fits in this system is because he doesn't need basketball. All he does is get rebounds, alter shots, block shots. Ontario, I agree with you. Hey, Jeff Green been balling, and this is a Jeff Green that I knew from Georgetown and Oklahoma City. A lot of people look at Jeff and say he's gonna play for a bunch of different teams, but he's picking his spots on where he wants to play. Like, that's the way this league is now. He doesn't sign long-term deals. Let me sign a 1-year deal with this team, a 1-year deal with this team. And so, this one that he's on now I think is a perfect fit for him because he's able to play the way he really should. There's no pressure on him. With having those three guys, there's no pressure. He can just play free, play loose, defend. He can guard different positions. So, just imagine that team going small ball and possibly putting him, KD, James, Kyrie, and maybe Blake Griffin out there, and that's a real versatile group that can, do a whole lot. But, I just think that from top to bottom that they're a complete team. I think Steve Nash has done a great job coaching them in his first year, which I don't think that's hard to do, but you have to give credit when credit is due. Him and his coaching staff have done a great job, even throughout the injuries, guys being out, all that good stuff. So I think they've done a good job of managing this team. And I think that they're going to be tough to beat. At the end of the day, they're just going to be very, very tough to beat. And if anybody disagrees, I like to know who you think could possibly, in a 7-game series, beat those guys and hold them. Like, them guys averaging 122 points a game. Just like every time I see them, 122, 115, 117, 135, and it's like that. So it's just a matter of who can stop these guys for 4 games. And I just don't see it. I don't see nobody stopping KD. I haven't seen anybody stop KD. Kyrie is on another level. When he's out there playing, he's been on a tear. When James is not hurt, he's been on a tear. So I just can't see. I just can't see it happening. Anything can happen, but I can't see it happening. So with this team, the sky's the limit. And right now, I haven't picked them to win it all. I just know anything can happen. So I'm just saying it's going to be very, very hard to beat them. And with KD coming back, I think when he comes back, he's showing that, if he's healthy, he's the best player in the NBA. It's hands down. If he is healthy, he's showing that he is the best player in the NBA, hands down. And so, we'll see what happened over there. They got to get out of the East just to get to the finals, and they got some tough games that nobody's a slouch that they end up having to play against. So we're going to see. If I'm not mistaken, they got 11 games left, and that game ahead of first in the East. So, home court would be in their favor. And so we'll see what happened with them. And we're going to stay in the NBA, and we're going to move along. We're going to talk about the Washington Wizards. A lot of people had the Washington Wizards dead in the water, and they have revived themselves. And, I discussed it with, some friends of mine. I discussed it with my brother a few times that it would take time for Bradley Beal and Russ to get acquainted with each other. That's two guys that, really dominate the basketball. Bradley Beal, he can play off the ball, which is perfect because, he can spot up and shoot. But, the last few years, it had been him playing with the ball in his hand a whole lot. We all know how Russ is. Russ, he likes to control games. He's a point guard who wants to facilitate, score, and just do whatever he has to do to win. Right now, they are in 10th place, which that's a play-in game in the East. So, from 7, 8, 9, and 10, they all have a play-in game. And so they're at 10 right now. They are winners of 8 straight. Bill is second in scoring in the NBA. Russ had 4 straight triple doubles until last night. That stopped his triple double streak. It just took time. If you look at it, they're 2 games behind the Pacers, which they are 9th, and they're 3.5 behind the Hornets, which they are 8th, and they got 12 games remaining. So, a lot can happen in those 12 games, and the way they're playing, if they get in, and notice I said if, they would be a tough team to play against, with Russ playing the way he's playing, Bradley Beal playing the way he's playing, and their role players, doing what they're supposed to do. You just don't win 8 straight games in the NBA just by luck. They had to have, some really, really, really good games, and it's not a whole lot of defense in it, but they've been defending pretty well. The other thing is, when we're on the Wizards, a lot of people have been, giving Russell Westbrook a hard time about, his triple doubles and all that good stuff. And what people fail to realize is, and I heard some people say some of the craziest things, like, Russ getting triple doubles and they're overrated triple doubles. So you mean to tell me that a guy gives you 30 points, 20 assists, and maybe 14 rebounds, that those rebounds and assists are overrated? I think that's the craziest stat. It's easy to get triple doubles in the NBA, in my opinion, in these day and ages. Now, it's easy. But for this guy to do this, so basically what some people are saying is that his teammates will allow him to get rebounds and let him pad his stats. Now, if anybody knows Russ, the guy plays hard. The guy wants to win. He does whatever he has to do to win. He goes out there and he gives his all. He's not one of those ones that, I'm going to take the night off. I'm going to, I need a break. I need time off. I need load management. That's not his style. So he goes out and plays hard, try to get every rebound. Maybe if some of these other guards would do that. Me and some friends were talking about, a guard, and I'm not going to say his name because this segment is not on him. But, he's averaging, if I'm not mistaken, 3.8. I can't remember. It was less than 4 rebounds, I believe. And that's not a good thing for a guard whenever you're supposed to be an all-star. You're supposed to be one of the better guards in the league. You're supposed to be one of the best players in the league and one of the best upcoming players, and your rebounding is suspect. You can go into a game and basically get, 4 rebounds is a rebound a quarter. So, that's all you really have to do in this league. Brian, you know what I'm talking about too. Because, it's sickening how, we call these guys all-stars and call them great, but then criticize the ones who do what they're supposed to do to be great and to be an all-star. So at the end of the day, we got to stop with the narratives because you feel like somebody's overdoing something or they're playing that hard. And if he's stat chasing and he's working that hard to get rebounds, but then not only the assists, so basically what you're saying is the assists are overrated. So him finding guys and they knocking down shots is overrated. And I hate to bring this guy up, but if that was LeBron and he was doing it, everybody, his people be talking about how great he is and what he did and how he did it and all that good stuff. Because Russ has a different attitude and he plays at a different level. Because if you watch Russell Westbrook play, he gives it his all the time. All the time. Go watch the guy. He might play 100 miles an hour. TC, that sounds like a bunch of haters to me. That's what it sounds like to me. I totally agree with you because it's crazy. Yeah, TC, I try not to talk about it, but guess what? I'm gonna talk about him in a few minutes. So I'm really gonna hurt some booties whenever that time comes too, because I'm gonna talk about it in a minute. But like the guy, and then now him and Bradley Beal are kind of gelling together, and he's doing what he has to do to will his team to a better record in the East. Yeah, they were struggling at first because I hear guys talk a lot of stats, but whenever it comes to his stats, it's always, oh, they're padded. Like, who padding stats? I mean, somebody got to knock down shots. It's not like I'm at the end of the game, so, guy, hey, I'm going to give you this right here for you to make this layup so I can have a triple-double. No, this stuff is happening through the course of the game. He's finding people knocking down shots. He goes and get rebounds, which a lot of guards in the NBA should do, because all they're taking is layups and threes. And anybody knows if you're shooting threes more times than none, it's long rebounds. So if it's a long rebound, everybody was taught that long rebounds go to who? Guards. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So, you can get 4 rebounds a game, 1 a quarter. So what if he's getting 2 or 3 a quarter? If that's what he has to do to make his team better and to make his team win, that's what he has to do. It's funny how he did it in Oklahoma City. He did it some in Houston, and now he's doing it now, and everybody sees a problem with it. I don't see no issue with it. I see Russ as being a great basketball player, doing what he has to do to make his team better and to make his team win. And it took some time this year because he's in a new system. He would well, not a new coach, but, a new coach in this year because he's been with Scott Brooks before, but a whole different team. So, it took some time to do that. And so, I hope the Wizards get in. This is me. I hope they get in because it will be interesting to see how well they play in the playoffs. I'm not saying that they're going to win it or anything like that, but they could really cause some problems in the playoffs if they get in, playing game, or if they just so happen to be one of the top 5 or 6 that, because anything can happen in 12 games. And all those games are pretty close together. And so we'll see. And I'm going to get off the Wizards right now. And so we're going to move right along. Something happened over the weekend, the last few days, that George Floyd case. They found the officer guilty on all 3 charges. And then we had another shooting with a young lady with a knife, and the police shot her 4 times. She died, and I think it was in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken. But this is just leading up to what I'm talking about, because I don't really want to get into all of that because I want to talk sports. But this one right here is kind of crazy to me. So LeBron James, made a tweet, and he deleted the tweet and said, basically that cop was next, and whatever, after the other cop was found, Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 charges in that George Floyd murder. And so a bar owner in Ohio says he won't play NBA games until LeBron James is expelled, suspended, kicked out, however you want to do it. And he also made some comments saying that LeBron is trying to use his stature and his, to push his opinion or whatever. He should keep his opinions to himself and, just play basketball. And first of all, I think he's wrong on that aspect because, everybody has an opinion. He just made his opinion on how he felt, but he made his voice known, and he didn't see nothing wrong with it. So LeBron has every right to do that. But I think LeBron was wrong in this case right here because this situation was totally different than all the other police shootings, in my opinion. I don't know all the details of what happened, but I think that he rushed to judgment on this one, and he later deleted the tweet. But we're going to talk about the bar owner wanting to not play NBA games until he's expelled. First of all, him making a tweet like that, I don't think that it calls for expellment. I don't think it calls for a suspension. I don't think it calls for anything because he has his right to think that. And just because he made it known and then later deleted it doesn't make him wrong for that because he's still entitled to his opinion. Do I agree with it? No, you don't have to. Nobody has to. But I think that we'll see this gentleman on the news one day or, talking and telling people how he made a bad decision by not playing NBA games. Because I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, but one thing I know about LeBron, he brings in revenue. Whenever he left Cleveland the first time, it was millions and millions of dollars that was lost just because people weren't going to come to the games, and the people who couldn't get in the games weren't going to go to the bars right around the arena and in the area or whatever. He's going to lose a lot of money because regardless of how you feel about LeBron James, how you feel about a lot of these players, a lot of these guys, it's entertainment. You like basketball. You're a fan of the sport. So for him to say that he's not going to show NBA basketball games, none. It's a lot of people go to games just to watch, go to the bars just to watch games. So this guy is going to not play games and he's going to miss out of liquor sales and food sales because people really drink when they go to bars. And TC, you're absolutely right. You're going to lose a lot of revenue. It's going to be a lot of revenue that he's going to lose simply because his personal feelings about something is going to affect his business. Like I said, I don't think LeBron should be suspended. I don't think he should be expelled, and I don't think anybody should expect any of that. And Brian, that's the most important thing. He's giving his competitors business. Because somebody else is going to say, well, this dummy don't want NBA games. I'll take all the people that you don't want and I'll put them in my bar and I'll get them fat and happy and they'll drink and they'll do all of that stuff. So at the end of the day, it's going to hurt him more than it's going to hurt LeBron. LeBron's going to get his money. His money is guaranteed. And he played in LA. Cleveland already done been through this with LeBron leaving and it hurt sales and some of those places closed down because nobody went to games. It just wasn't the same. And so for him to be so idiotic, him to be so, full of himself to say he's not going to show NBA games until the NBA expels LeBron and put it out there and told people, if you're coming to watch NBA games, it won't show. I think that's the dumbest and stupidest thing that a business owner could do because I don't care how I feel personally. I'm worried about my bottom line. And my bottom line would be to make money. So if I got a bar, regardless of how I feel about LeBron James, I'll play his basketball games because people want to come and see him play. The people who can't get into the arenas, the people who just say, oh, I don't want to watch it at home. I'm going to go to this bar. And so I think that he's going to hurt his bottom line. I think that we're going to see an instance where this guy's going to come back and be like, well, I lost my business that I had for umpteen years simply because I made a conscious decision not to, and I ain't even going to say it's conscious, an unconscious decision just to not play NBA games. And so, like I said, LeBron, he deleted the tweet. I don't think he should have said it because, first of all, you should be more knowledgeable and know what's going on first. I think that before you rush to judgment, you shouldn't put stuff out there. He's wrong in that aspect, in my opinion, because he may feel like he's right. He come back and later said that the reason why he deleted it is because some people will use it against him and cause more hate and more racism and more divide, which I kind of agree with him on that. But if he didn't put it out there, then he wouldn't have to worry about it. Because like sometimes you just have to look at it like this right here. LeBron James is a public figure and he has a voice in this world, but every time something happens doesn't mean you have to speak on it. You have to pick your battles. My mom used to tell me that all the time. You got to learn how to pick your battles. And there's sometimes every battle is not something that you should put your name on, that you should try to fight for, and all that stuff. And LeBron tries to fight every battle that comes, and he feels like he has to be a part of it. And I'm not even just talking about the negative stuff. I mean, you can see somebody win a game, And here he come tweeting about it. Like they can't even have their due diligence on, hitting a game winner or doing something like that. It's all like we have these conversations all the time. Me and family and friends, we talk about it all the time. How he's always trying to be in the spotlight. And sometimes you just gotta pick your battles. You gotta learn how to pick your battles. And every battle ain't meant for you to be a part of. Just because something happened with a police officer, you don't have to speak on that stuff all the time. And that's where he's wrong at. Like you just have to. Sometimes it's best to just shut up and see how things are. TC, that we say it all the time. That's our famous line. Nobody is safe. Plain and simple. When it comes to him, nobody's safe. Whether it's good, bad, indifferent, nobody's safe because he has to speak on everything from sports to social life to everything, voting to police brutality to police killings to everything. He wants to put his name on everything, and that's my biggest issue with him. Whenever it comes to certain things, you have to shut up sometimes, sit back and not speak on everything. If we spoke on everything that come up, like it would just be ridiculous. Like it's some stuff. Like I haven't spoke on the police officer shooting the young lady. I hadn't talked about it because I don't know all the details. I got some details from my son the other day I didn't know nothing about. But just because you see it, and then a lot of people, making big deals about, the fatal shooting and stuff like that. That's what it all boils down to. But like, you don't know the situation. So sometimes just don't speak on everything. And just because you see it on the news, we all know this. They give you the bits and pieces just to make the story. They don't tell everything. It's a whole lot of parts in between. So with him, like I said, nobody's safe. We say it all the time. We are in a group chat. That's the first thing we'll say. We'll see, something good happen. He has to speak on it. I mean, it could be something simple. He has to speak on it. Something bad happened. He has to speak on. Sometimes you got to know when to pick your battles. But this guy who decided that he's not going to play NBA games, I think it's going to come back and bite him in his ass at the end of the day. And whatever is going on, if he got a personal issue with LeBron, then, you shouldn't let it mess up your business. And for him to do that, to try to make the NBA do something, like NBA going to make their money too. If you don't want to play in a bar, another bar player. Plain and simple. It's that simple. Those guys are going to get paid. Those guys are going to get their money because you fail to realize the NBA is bigger than Ohio. Simple. It's bigger than the United States. It's global. So the NBA is going to make their money. So you holding out, it makes you look bad in the long run. It's going to make you look really bad if your business folds simply because of this right here. I don't get some people sometimes, but it is what it is. All right, and I'll move on. I'm gonna talk about something that's real big in sports in general, and it's building a team. And this is going to take and I'm gonna take this and it's going to lead to something else. And so like building a team. Whenever I look at a team, we all probably have built teams and stuff before. Like you go to the gym and you play pickup and you try to pick this person because they fit this person because they fit that, this person because they play hard, this person because they rebound. So you always try to get something to fit the mold and make your team better. And I think you can't build a team around one player, because if you build a team around one player, then I think it could be cause for disaster. It can work out good in some instances, but if something happens that that you don't want to happen, then it can look bad and it can work out. It not work out in your favor. I think that now you have to have your key superstars, and then you got to have role players that that you have to have several role players. You got to have people that understand what their job is. You got the Brooklyn Nets, for an example. You got Kevin Durant, who's their best player. You got James. He's a star, but he's filling a role. I'm going to be the facilitator. Got Jeff Green coming off the bench. I'm gonna just do what I have to do. You got Joe Harris who's gonna, knock down shots, shoot shots. Just shooting all that good stuff. You got DeAndre Jordan who's going to rebound, alter shots, block shots. So it's a whole lot that comes with it. And then I think that you should build teams for a few years. Now, it used to be you would build a team that was built for 5, 6, 7 years because you used to have longer contracts because the money wasn't like it is now. So if you got stuck in a long-term deal, you had to make sure that you were safe, your family was safe, so you could be financially straight. Because if you look at, I use the Bulls team after 93 when Michael Jordan retired. A lot of people try to say, well, that Bulls team was still good because they never built the team solely around Michael Jordan. They built a team to complete Michael Jordan because he was the ultimate guy. And then they put all the pieces around him. So, they would still be formidable if he was out the game. They would still be formidable if he didn't play. And they would still be good because you had pieces like the good role players that knew their role, the Dennis Rodman rebounding, Pippen being the sidekick, Steve Kerr knocking down shots, John Paxson knocking down shots, Craig Hodges who knocked down shots. You had Stacey King and those guys. Everybody knew their part. Everybody knew that. So it made their team more complete. And I think now, which this right here leads to my next thing, the Lakers struggling, is this cause for concerns. I think it's cause for concern because LeBron, they say he's been running, they've been showing videos and stuff like that. But if he doesn't hurry up and come back, I think the Lakers are going to be in a whole lot of trouble because of this right here, building a team. The Lakers and any other team that LeBron played on besides the Miami Heat were built solely around him. And what I mean solely around him is because some people are going to take this the wrong way and not understand where I'm coming from. All they heard is LeBron James and I'm criticizing LeBron and I'm blaming LeBron. No, what I'm saying is LeBron has to play with certain people. If he doesn't play with certain type of talent, that means that LeBron is going to be ineffective. The team is not going to be good. So he has to play with shooters. He has to play with guys that really can't get their own shot. But you do have a few guys that can get their own shot, but he dominates the ball so much that their stats go down whenever he plays. And this team now, AD is back, but it's not built around him. It's built more around LeBron. And so with that being said, AD is not the guy who's going to get them over. That's why they're on this 3-game losing streak. They're struggling. They done put AD back in. For the first few games, you had times where the Lakers had won a few games here and there when LeBron and AD went out. That's because those guys, you can win a couple games, but at the end of the day, it's LeBron handles the ball most. He facilitates more. Yeah, some of those guys' stats go up, like Kuzma's stats went up. But for the most part, the team is built around LeBron. When he goes down, in the long run, the team struggles. And that's the problem with building a team around one player. You got the Nets that I will use for an example. They don't have a team that's built solely around Kevin Durant. I mean, you got the role players that can do other things besides spot up and shoot. So if you look at the Lakers, yeah, they dump it down to AD sometimes. But most of those guys are not doing anything or can't do anything to create for everybody else to make that team better. That's why the Lakers are struggling right now. And if LeBron doesn't hurry up and come back, they're going to be in a play-in spot, which, I don't think they will have an issue with a play-in spot because if LeBron comes back and he's 100%, they can play in and they'll be just fine. But the issue is if he goes down, if he doesn't come back, they are going to continue to struggle because the team is built solely around him. Like if you take LeBron from the Lakers, of course they're going to be bad. And I hate the narrative that, he makes this team better, make that team better. I hate that idea simply because when teams build, like I said, back in the day, they had long-term contracts, 6, 7 years. Now guys are signing 1, 2. So if you're good enough, you're signing 3 or 4 year deals. So you're signing these guys for 1 or 2 years, and it's solely built around his qualities and what he brings to the table. So I'm gonna get this guy because he can shoot. I'm gonna get this guy because he sets screens very well and he can pick and pop. And it's all about it's all about how can we put somebody around him so he can be the player that he's supposed to be. And it comes back and it's biting the Lakers now because it's not built solely around team. It is more built around him. And Brian, I didn't look at it this way, man. He said, no need to jeopardize and play Curry. He needs to come back so they can secure a spot. I agree with you because the way Steph Curry's playing, it'll be tough to beat them. And I don't see anybody on the Lakers who can stop Curry or can guard him or anything like that. I just don't see it. I see the other guys that, they might be able to handle, but if Curry is hot, if he can continue to play the way he's playing, I think that, if they get that playing game with them, yeah, I agree with you. I did not look at that. I did not look at that scenario right there, buddy. I did not. I really didn't. That would be tough because if they get a play in and they end up playing against Golden State, that would be crazy. It will be hard for them to beat them because, as you can see, AD come back and he's struggling, like trying to get a rhythm. And as great as LeBron is, I mean, I just don't see him like KD because KD is just a fluent shooter and all that good stuff. I see LeBron may struggle a little bit, knocking off the rust because coming off that long, it's tough. KD's just a shooter and he does a lot of shooting. So I think it's a whole lot easier. You can work on shooting and all that good stuff in the game flow. But LeBron game is not predicated off shooting. But the Lakers' problem is LeBron James not being there. And the biggest reason is because they built that team solely around him and not and it's not solely around, team. It's solely around LeBron. So that's where the Lakers messed up at. And TC, I agree with you. I knew what you were saying. KD's more skilled with the ball because it just makes it easier for him to do things that LeBron's not going to be able to do coming back off injury. Do I want to see him come back? Yes, because I want to see the best teams play against each other. But Brian, I'm going back to this right here, man. I'm going back to this. If he play against them, that's going to be some trouble, man. That's going to be a whole lot of trouble. And so, I mean, we'll see, what happens. But that's just my opinion on building a team. Like a lot of people don't look at it that way. They won't look at it that way, But I mean, take a look at it. You look at the Cleveland team. It's the same way. And whenever those guys, when people go down and like LeBron gets hurt or these guys are not shooting well or knocking down shots, and that's when he say, oh, we need to trade. We need some more help. Because if I'm not mistaken, everybody was saying the Lakers were one of the deepest benches at the beginning of the season. But, you gave away some stuff. You gave away rim protection. You gave away rim protection to get, a Marc Gasol, who was more like a pick and pop type guy, and I mean, it fits LeBron. It fits LeBron, well, but you give up a whole lot more because one, he got hurt. He wasn't playing well. They dealing with a lot of injuries and stuff like that. Brian, what did you say? Brian said, yeah, when you have LeBron, you typically don't have a traditional point guard. That's tough to win. And I agree because everybody's looking for him to do all the facilitate because he does dominate the basketball. And so I think that's one of the biggest problems whenever it comes to that. Like, it's solely around him. It's not solely around team. And if they had a point guard, that's where Rondo came in last year because he took the ball out of LeBron's hand. He told LeBron, what to do, how to do it, when to do it. That was the difference come playoff time. And Majors,
I'm not worried about no man. I ain't worried about nobody, man. I won't need, I call you could be my bodyguard, man. All right. But I'm gonna get off LeBron and get off the Lakers because like Major said, it's gonna be a lot of people that's looking a little differently or whatever, thinking that I'm picking on them or whatever. I'm just giving my opinion on how to build teams. Like if you build a team around players, like players complete all the players and not just one player, then your team will be so much better. That's why, because like with a lot of teams in the NBA, like I used a couple years ago. That's why Kawhi was able to just fit in with Toronto because they had a team that was built, together. It just wasn't built around one person. That's why he was easy to plug in, in that situation. That's why James was easy to plug in with the Nets. I mean, you just look at it. That's why it was so easy, because it's not built solely around that one person. So, I mean, hopefully, LeBron comes back and some people will see it as the way I saw it instead of saying, oh, they needed him that bad and he was just that great and that's what he was missing. No, it's more so because of the dynamics of the team and how they're built and not just him not being there. That's the bigger story. Yeah, him not being there is a story, but the biggest story is how they built the team solely around him, and that's why he gets hurt and now they struggle. And like Brian said, I didn't think of it that way, but if he doesn't come back and they end up being a playing game and play against the Golden State Warriors, they might be in a little trouble. They might be. So we'll see. And I'm not gonna stay long on this one right here. This one right here is basically my NBA power rankings. I got the Nets. KD's back. They just beat the Suns. The Suns lost to the number one power ranking to me, and so they're number two. The Jazz, they had a bad loss to the Timberwolves. That's why I moved them down to 3. The Clippers, they have won 4 straight without Kawhi, Serge, and Patrick Beverley. Paul George is playing real good basketball, but this is my thing right here when it comes to Paul George. I've seen this before. I want to see Paul George perform in the playoffs. I want to see him perform in the big moments. At the end of the day, that's what I want to see. Real quick, May just put this up. I got you. You spot on what you're saying. What you said about Rondo is the reason why he's not there now. Yep, I agree with you, May. Just plain and simple. All right, then I got the 76ers at 6. At 5. 76ers had a couple of bad losses this past week. So they dropped down to 5. They still won the top 5, but they still one of the better teams. But losing those tough games they had is key to me. So I put them down to 5. All right, so we're gonna keep moving, and we're getting close to the end of the show, and I just want to discuss something, and I'm gonna give you my final word. My final word would be like people using their voice. I heard a lot of people saying athletes shouldn't use their voice. Athletes should shut up and play. Athletes should, just worry about, the sport. And yeah, they're athletes. They make money and they make great money. But at the end of the day, they're still human beings just like us. They're still citizens just like us. And I feel like athletes should continue to use their voice. Anybody who has any type of political power, like whenever it comes, not political, public power, they're a public figure. I feel like they should use their voice for the change of good. And a lot of people have a problem with athletes using that because it's not what they think, it's not what they believe, it's not what they want. And they feel like athletes are using their voice to change things that is not comfortable for them. And I use this as a sports show, but at the same time, it's something about life and human and being humane. And so, like, if you have an issue with an athlete using their voice to help change the world because something is inhumane and you don't agree with them trying to get that change, then more times than none, you're part of the problem. Athletes should use their voice for the greater good. Athletes should use their voice to bring about change. Athletes should use their voice to, to get things across. That's what other people do. That's what billionaires do. That's what politicians do. That's what a lot of people do. They use their public persona to get them whatever they want and how they want it. And so, and I think that anybody, um, um, my go to Brian. Brian said we were taught in school when we are just good at basketball and not the classroom, you get penalized, kicked off the team. They're not going to pick one. I agree. And the great Robert Blue used to tell me, like, you got to be a good basketball player, but you're not a good basketball player if you're not a good student. And you should always speak up for what is right. And I always looked at it. My mama used to tell me that, it used to be a thing, you speak up for right and wrong. You don't go out there causing problems, but you speak up for the good. And I think that people who has a voice, people who are in public figures should, do that. They should speak up for the good of everything, because just because you're an athlete doesn't mean that you don't live in this world either, and that you should just shut up. That's not right. That's not the way that we should look at life. That's not the way that we should look at anything, because just because you're an athlete doesn't mean that you can't have an opinion about something that's wrong. I mean, we just you gotta be a human first. So for athletes to use their voice and use their opinion for the greater good of the country or the greater good of humanity, then I think that everybody should applaud that. Everybody should want somebody to speak up for something good. Everybody should. It's crazy how the same people that want these athletes to go to the Olympics and speak up for America and win games for America and make America look good, but when they come back and they speak on stuff that's not right in America, then everybody has an issue with it. And I feel like at the end of the day, athletes need to continue using their voice. College athletes, professional athletes, high school athletes, because you probably wouldn't believe how much of a voice you have and how much people are paying attention to you. And this was taught to me from all my coaches, from Robert Blue, Stan Callender, James Majors, all of those people have taught you to use your voice on and off the basketball court, because people are always watching. Just because I play basketball doesn't mean that I can't be a model citizen in the classroom. Just because I play sports doesn't mean I can't be a model citizen out in the community. And if something going wrong in the community or something ain't right, then I should be able to speak up about that, because I did have a voice, and we all have a voice that we should use at the end of the day and make it for the greater good. And Majors, I agree. The ones speaking out against athletes speaking out know and understand their voice has power for change. They're afraid of the influence they have. And that's what it is. And it's sad to say that, but that's so true, Majors. Their influence, it's going to change for the greater good. And they have they're afraid of their influence. And I encourage everyone, like, if you have some type of, voice and some type of influence on, it could just be in your community. It could just be in your school. It doesn't have to be something big. Because it could turn out to be something big, but use your voice. Like, and that's one thing I've always tried to do. I've had teammates that, a lot of them used to see me like, oh crap, he coming to preach to me or whatever, and this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, they appreciated it later, because, I seen some teammates or friends do some stuff that was wrong. And I already knew, like, I don't want coach to find out. I don't want you to get kicked off the team, whatever. So I'll do whatever I had to do to make sure that, my voice was heard. So athletes, continue to use your voice, and not just athletes, everybody use your voice. Everybody use your voice for the greater good, because
without you, without everybody else, without athletes, without singers, without actors, without everybody, you know, we'll be in a bad state. So everybody use your voice. Continue using your voice and use it for the greater good. And, you know, that's it for today. I just want to tell everybody who checked it out, who came on here, participated. I appreciate you coming on and taking a look. And, you know, giving me feedback on certain things and, you know, keeping me on my toes on a lot of things. So I just want to say appreciate it. And I'll be back next Monday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern. So check it out. Follow the Instagram page and Twitter page. Instagram is This Brother Talks, and Twitter is Talks_brother. No, Talks_this. I had to remember it because they made me do something real crazy with it. So, you know, everybody go on those pages, check them out, follow them. And I'll be back next week to talk about, you know, a couple other things. If you guys, you know, want me to talk about something else, or you got some opinions on everything, send me a message on Facebook and, you know, I'll consider it and we'll go from there. Everybody have a good night. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your week.